Good morning, Fed Phoenixes. So today I want to just discuss briefly understanding the BOP inmate locator tool, which is online. I know a lot of people, like myself, waiting to self-surrender, check it daily to see when you'll finally be on there. Once you're actually, if you're waiting to self-surrender, once you're actually on the BOP inmate locator, um, then you can, one, you'll have your inmate number if you don't already have it. And two, you'll be able to start sending money to your commissary account, to be there when you get there. Um, but I've had some people ask me some questions about the BOP inmate locator tool. Good Lord, I can't talk today. And I just wanted to just give a brief rundown. Now, if you are a self-surrender and, you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you have a loved one who's in federal prison and you haven't heard from them in a few days and you're kind of wondering, is something wrong? Is something going on? Or if you have a loved one who's being detained, pending going to their primary institution or to, be transferred or something. You may want to know what is the most efficient way to find out information. And what you'll do is you'll go on Google and you'll type in BOP in all capitals. I do, at least. I guess you don't have to. Inmate locator, and it'll give you the option when you go on there. The first thing usually pops up is the federal BOP inmate locator, on their website. And you can look for them by name or by inmate number. If you don't know the inmate number, all you need is their first and last name. It does have to be spelled correctly. The tool is very particular about that. But anywho, you put in this information. And if you're a self-surrender waiting to go to prison, usually anywhere from a few weeks to sometimes a little longer after you're sentenced, you will appear on that. And if you're already incarcerated, you'll be on there. Now, when you first pop up on there, right before you self-surrender or shortly after, sometimes your out date, the day it says that you'll be released, is not really accurate. Like maybe they haven't factored in the 54 days off a year for good behavior. That out date does not reflect RDAP until you've completed RDAP and earned the credit for time off for RDAP. Then it will update to reflect that, usually within a couple of weeks. But a lot of times when people go on there, it says, they find themselves or their loved one, it says not in custody. When it says that, or if it doesn't have an out date, that's because your information was just put in and that just hasn't been processed through yet. Now, when it says, as far as and not having a discharge date, when it says not in custody, this could mean a variety of things. This could mean they're waiting for you to self-surrender. This could mean you're in transit. Maybe you're a person who didn't get to self-surrender and you've been detained this whole process, or your loved one is. And anytime that your loved one is in a federal holding facility, a county facility, a state facility, whatever, and they're technically a federal inmate, they're on the BOP website, the inmate thing, it will say not in custody. So generally, if your loved one, if you know your loved one's already in prison and it says not in custody, you know that they either A, have been, or are in transit or in the process of being transferred for some reason, or B, they just have not reached the prison that they will be doing, the bulk or all of their time at. Sometimes it'll say in transit. Almost never. Usually it'll just say not in BOP custody. Another thing, too, is once you go to a halfway house, let's say you're doing your time at Coleman, it'll say FCI or FPC Coleman or whatever, on the BOP tool while you're in prison. And then when you get to the halfway house, it will update with, your halfway house location, that you're in custody at a halfway house. Now, if you get to do your time on home confinement, sometimes it'll say that the nearest halfway house is your location. Usually it will simply say not in BOP custody. If you have a loved one who's incarcerated, and you want to reach out to them, you want to, maybe it's someone you had a falling out before they went in, or, you just want to check on them. But you don't really know the up-to-date information on them for whatever reason. You would go to the BOP inmate locator, put in their name or their inmate number if you know it. Generally put in their name. It'll show you their name, their inmate number, their location, and their expected discharge or release date. Which this means out of prison and out of halfway house. That is not a halfway house date. That is a coming home date. And that will change periodically. You know, if a person loses 10 days off their good behavior credit because, you know, of a write-up, you know, that would change. And sometimes it takes a couple weeks for the website to update with the most current information. But let's say you want to get in contact with them and it says on there, you know, their name, the release date, the facility they're in, and, you know, their inmate number. What I would then do if I was you is I would then Google the facility itself they're in. Let's say Jessup FCI. I would Google Jessup FCI. And, you know, there will certainly, one of the things that will come up will be a link to that facility's website. The BOP has a website for pretty much every federal facility. And on that website, you'll find information about visitation processes and guidelines, what you can and cannot mail them, the address to write them letters. You know, pretty much the information you'll need to really reconnect if you're a person who's, you know, trying to use the BOP inmate locator to connect or reconnect with a loved one. And that's pretty much it. I know me personally, I got like 37, 38, something like that days until I self-surrender. And I check it every day. I mean, I was sentenced almost 3 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago. And I check it every day because I know once I'm on there, I mean, I don't intend to send money to my books until like a couple weeks before I go in, but I know once I'm on there, things are moving along. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when you're waiting to self-surrender, everything goes from super fast to just almost like a dead stop, and your life just feels like it's kind of on hold, you know, waiting to go start this next step in your journey. But yeah, that's what you do. So, and if you haven't heard from your loved one, and you go on there. Now, if they're in the SHU, if they're in the hole, it will not say not in BOP custody. It will still say the facility they're at, you know, with no additional information offered. Sometimes when you call the facility, they'll give you a little information as regards to has your loved one been harmed or not? Are they in the hole or not? They don't have to give you that. In fact, I think there may be some legal clauses where they're not supposed to give you that. You know, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you get a CO who's feeling particularly generous and compassionate. But more often than not, you're not going to know. Which is why if you have a loved one who's incarcerated, a lot of times they will have someone they trust in there reach out to you to let you know, you know, this person has been put in the hole. Or you just got to wait to get snail mail, you know, traditional mail from them. Or sometimes, you know, they'll have someone reach out to you and let you know what's going on. Or sometimes, you know, you may know multiple people at a facility, multiple inmates, and you can reach out to one and say, hey, what's going on? I would never, ever, 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 ever suggest for your safety and the safety of your loved one that you just randomly pick another inmate at that facility to reach out to, hoping they can give you information. That could get really messy, really, really quick. Don't do it. Just don't. I mean, you got to think, a person who's incarcerated too is stripped of nearly every bit of privacy that you and I take for granted in the free world. And so to trample on what little privacy they have, what little sense of security, to try to get information because you're worried, is very selfish. And that's not okay. So, but anywho, this is my little video explaining the BOP inmate locator tool, which is just quite simply you Google BOP inmate locator, or location of federal inmate even will probably even bring it up. But I just Google BOP inmate locator because I know that's the name of the actual search on their site. So I hope this information has been helpful. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe and share if you want on other platforms if you think other people can benefit from this information. Hit the dingy button, the notifications bell, if you'd like to be notified when new material drops. Make sure you select all, not personalized. As we know, very soon I'll be going into federal prison on a 2-year sentence, so probably for about 1.5 years. And during that time, I won't be able to respond to emails, make phone calls, you know, like not normal cell phone calls, not respond to comments on here. absolutely nothing. I'll just kind of go, you know, disappear from the internet during that time. But once I get out of the prison, once I'm in the halfway house, I'll certainly start making new content, updating y'all on my prison journey and the conditions of the halfway house. And, you know, and I'll continue, you know, documenting my journey through the federal correction system, the injustice system, you know, as things proceed. And I hope that the material I put out is of some benefit, you know, to those watching. So, good day, God bless, and I will talk to y'all later.